Good evening, everyone. It's been a minute since we've done one of these live shows, so please let us know if you're hearing and seeing us okay and if our volume is good so we can equalize it early. Hello, Stephanie. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Hi, everyone. It has been a very long time. How's quarantine, Matt?
I'm good. What is it? It's Saturday morning here, so in a few hours I'll be halfway through. It's flying by now that it's only 1 week long instead of two, so that's a good thing. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Eric. Can you let us know how is Steph and my volume? Are we about equal? Steph, sing a song. Let them compare us. Hello.
Testing. One, two, three. How's the mic?
Excellent. Okay, well, let us know, fellas. How is it going? Um, yeah, it's been like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 weeks since we did one of these live shows, but better than that, we got to hang out for weeks in Philly and then Iceland. So it kind of feels like
Yeah.
less of a hey, how are you? Haven't seen you for ages than normal, even though it's been a long time for the audience. How have you been since you got back?
Been busy, of course. Always busy, but it was nice to kind of catch up on sleep a little bit. The jet lag kind of like messed me up a little bit.
Really? It's only a
My
couple of
sleep schedule
hours
was,
difference.
yeah. I know, but for some reason I was just like really tired really early and then like I'll wake up in the middle of the night and yeah, but I'm good now. It's just nice to be home with Lady and just yeah,
And your husband?
yeah. Oh yeah, him too. Yeah.
That's good.
But yeah, it's
And
just
you've
been a
you've
while
warmed
and
up after
yeah.
posing in next to nothing
Oh my God.
in the middle of Iceland.
Yeah, so it definitely was a bit of a shock to my body, just going from like extremely cold weather to like, Jersey where it's like 80, 90 degrees now, Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm like sweating constantly because I just, yeah,
Although I
I'm
have
good
to
now, but
say,
like,
we look like we're guests on the Jay Leno show. You're wearing a denim jacket, you realize, as you're complaining that it's so hot.
oh, well, it's cold in my apartment
Cold
though,
here too.
so
I'm actually not looking forward to
yeah.
that. Since I've been here, there's just storms almost every day. I can like barely see the mountain of apartment blocks that are a block away from me. And apparently it's crazy humid and hot outside, but I haven't felt it because I just walked from the airport to the quarantine bus and then the quarantine bus to the hotel, and I've been indoors otherwise. But quick hello
Oh
to
man.
Thomas from Switzerland. Oh, hi, mate. Kevin,
Oh,
Colin,
hey.
Eric again, William, Sean, nice to see you, and Don, nice to hear from you as well. It's good to see all you guys. I want to keep the live show kind of on point and giving you image feedback. I trying to find the right balance here. It's been a while since we've done a live show, so we'll still come back in between blocks of reviewing the images just for general chit chat and taking any questions that you guys might have. But I want to get through and give everyone who did enter shots for the time, watch, or clock themed competition proper feedback. Just a quick note, the Victorian course is 60% off at the moment. Please note that's not suitable for work and intended for a mature audience. And next week's theme is open topic. So you can enter your shots for that one now over at mattgranger.com/live. Sorry that you have to join us. Sorry that you have to leave us, Oliver. Sorry. Actually, I'm trying to do these earlier to make it easier for Europeans and some people in the States, I guess, too. Let's see how the time differences work and what's going to be the best time for everyone. So, how about I think we have about 18 shots entered. So, how about we just jump in and take a look at the first ones and we'll come back and answer any questions you have. So, if you have a question for us, please send it in now and we'll be back to check it out soon. So, here we go with our very first shot here, which is from Ian Burton. Well, we only have 18, so why don't we both give our feedback on each one? So, my
Okay.
challenge in this, I'll be honest, Steph, it's like you looking trying to give feedback on a competition on puppies or bugs where the subject can
Hmm.
outweigh the photography merit. I'm
Yeah.
really into watches, so I have to not get swayed by whether or not, something that's being shown I'm really impressed by as a watch, and think about how is it as a photograph. So this first one, it is a very classic watch. In terms of the way that the composite has been put together, I'll be honest, for if I wouldn't do it this way, it's not my style, but given this is what's been submitted, I can just give feedback on how it's been done. I'm not sure about the red light coming from camera left. It only seems to be impacting, like I think it's an added flare because it's really impacting the left one a little bit, the central one, but it seems to have been removed on the right one, or maybe there were three different exposures you put together there. My main feedback on this one would be, well, one, it could be cool to have the three different clocks showing slightly different times. So you've got like a minute later on each of the clocks as they go left to right. But my main thing would be, why crop off the one on the right and not be showing all the way to the crown? You've got it so nicely framed. I think it would work if you had it properly framed up. What do you think on this one, Steph?
Well, just to preface before you get into all of these like watches and whatnot, I don't know anything about watches. Um, they all kind of look the same to me. But I guess in terms of like this image particularly, I think my OCD like kicked in. They're not equidistant to each other. Like the one to
Equidistant.
the right is farther to the right, and it's just like the gaps in between, you can tell it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's the one thing that kind of bothers me with this. Yeah.
Okay. Um,
Okay.
let's take a look at this next one. Oh, that's kind of trippy with the floating mechanism and everything. Um, Again, got to focus on the
It's
actual
cool though.
photo. Let's take a look now. You guys, unfortunately, the way we're displaying this can't see the metadata, but just want to brighten it up a little to see how would it look. Yeah, so there's some kind of reflections going on there. I think because the movement is kind of screwed to one side of a piece of glass, which is how you get the floating look to it. Look, I think it's a really interesting clock, but I think it's not particularly beautifully lit. Yeah, I think you could do a lot more with this. Maybe choosing a nicer something to sit it on. It looks like the lighting was a little bit haphazard and you've kind of darkened down the background to try and get rid of that. Maybe setting up a scene for it to, intentionally shoot it with exactly where having light where you want it and don't want it, you could get some better results. And that's actually part of the challenge of shooting clocks or watches. You do have to deal with reflection. So that's the same as shooting people's glasses or architecture photography, where you're dealing with glass surfaces. Trying to get highlights onto the movement, like onto this brass or gold wheel here, but then not having the reflections show up in the glass or having them show up in a way that works for you. It is really challenging. Any feedback on this one, Steph?
I think, yeah, there's some, I guess, adjustments in terms of like the lighting. The ring of the clock, the bottom edge is kind of like missing. So like my mind's kind of like trying to complete that whole circle. Um, but yeah, I think just working on the lighting just so that way everything is kind of like in there. But you have it. Just like,
Okay, you want to take the lead on the next two, Steph?
sure. Oh, cool. That's trippy to look at. So okay, so Brad Norling, this is Why can I not think of the term? What is that?
Hourglass.
Hourglass. There we go. Um, I think I don't know how you had it lit, but I think it's kind of creating that like weird blue haziness effect on the
Hmm.
bottom, which I actually kind of like. I feel like maybe you had like a backdrop with like a maybe a cloth and it like looks like it might have reflected, or maybe you had some other backdrop behind it that had some maybe some like shades to it. But I think overall I really like this one.
I
Maybe just because of the little dot of like the light with like the little stream.
I
Yeah.
feel like the basically my feedback on the setup on the previous shot applies to this one as well. I think a lot of the bluing is coming in because you shot this bright with a messy background and then you've tried to pull the shadows way down to hide that, and doing that has brought the blues into the whites. Now that light could be a flash, so that could be, giving us the blue off the ceiling in the actual shot. Um, I just wonder if shooting it so straight on like this with no background is the best way to represent an hourglass, because it's so two dimensional. It looks like a poster rather than, the
Hmm.
two orbs that should be there. And for those who are into watches and timekeeping, I think it was Debethune have just announced that they're going to do a 10-minute and a 1 hour hourglass with like blued titanium micro nano balls for perfect precision in terms of their timekeeping. So if you want some super old tech at a super high price, check out Debethune. What about this one, Steph? From Caleb. And I think, was Caleb in the room, or Caleb's going to have to
Ooh.
join us later maybe? Yeah, Caleb's entered, but he's going to be joining a bit later.
Well, this looks like a product shot from like a magazine.
I'm
That's what I
sure
think.
that's what they were going for.
Um,
Yep.
uh, I mean, yeah, I think it's great. I think the lighting is pretty nice. Framing wise, it looks really, really good. The only thing that I would just say is the bottom right-hand corner. It looks like there's like a
Mm-hmm.
cord, or I'm not sure what that is. And because it is taking me some time to figure out what it is, you either include more of it or you, but that's just me being like really nitpicky. Uh, oh, pick.
Well done. Thanks for remembering the pics. Now, I'm sure we're going to see more of these steps. This kind of, it's like sometimes you see photographers do a lay flat of all their gear in their bag. Doing a watch amongst things is like kind of a lay flat of my nice stuff is really classic in this kind of world. Now, often it's men, so it's like, here's my Rolex, here's my passport and boarding pass, here's my cigar or my fountain pen or whatever. Here, I guess they're going, because it's a diamond watch, for a lady's look with makeup and the hair tie. I guess maybe that's the strap of a bag. But I agree, yeah, having more of it there would work. Just two things. If you're going for a real, product shot, the kind of thing that could be used by the company, two things. There's a reason why they tend to set the time, sorry, to 10 past 2, is so then you're not having that hour and minute hand across the branding, which is the Oyster Perpetual date just. And the angle you've chosen is hiding the date window. Given that this is a date just, you would want to choose a vantage point where the little cyclops is actually showing us the date rather than kind of making it look a little bit distorted. Then you want to make sure you have the whole face of the watch in good sharp focus. There's no point, paying for all those diamonds and then having them in soft focus unless you've got some nice flare coming through there. But nicely done, and certainly is kind of fitting the brief for that aesthetic of the here's my nice stuff shot. We'll do two more and then we'll come back and answer any questions that you guys have. Now, this one from Chris Harrison. Is it Chris? Yes. Now, I have to apologize for taking the nipples out of this so haphazardly, but it's ridiculous. To be honest, having this in, even without nipples, the video will 99% be marked as unsuitable for monetization. And, it's not the money that matters to me, but once something's not monetizable, YouTube tends to just not share it. But if I left the nipples in, it could even be taken down or have a strike against it, because to go live, I have to say it doesn't break the rules of YouTube. And then if I have broken it in the live stream, you can actually get a strike against the channel. So I apologize for censoring your work, but as much as I hate it, I think I'm going to have to require from now on that if you're entering things that include nipples or privates, that you censor it yourself, or I'm going to skip it, because it's not worth the risk to the channel, as much as I don't like the censorship. Having said that, I'm not sure that I really get the photo. It's a cool clock. It's kind of a nice pose, but if the clock wasn't there, I don't know that the pose would work. It would be very genital centric. I don't know if it's her makeup and then the black and white conversion, but the dark spot on her cheek looks quite odd. It looks as haphazard as the nipple that I removed, so I wonder if it was a pimple that's been removed. Don't worry, I'm not becoming a prude in my old age, but I'm just not sure that I get the overall thing. Maybe, am I missing something? Does the clock have special significance? Or I note that it is 10 past 10, so it's kind of, you've positioned the hour hands as I was suggesting. What do you think on this one, Steph?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure I get it. I feel like conceptually, I can only imagine it is very difficult to pose with a clock. I would just say like the ballet shoes. So I feel like maybe there was an idea that stemmed from this, but it's just the ballet shoes just kind of seem just there. It doesn't really play much importance to it as well as the clock. It's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, the elements like a clock
I am,
could be interesting. Ballet shoes. Oh, ballet. Lovely. A beautiful woman. Oh, lovely.
yeah,
Put them all together. What's going on here now? I don't get it overall.
yeah,
It's reasonably well lit. I like the backlighting. It's not to just unnecessarily be critical of it, Chris, but I would love to hear what was the thought process, and was there a
yeah. I would
meaning
like to
that
hear
I'm kind of
more.
missing on it. Here's one from Chung Hao, and here's another Here's My Nice Stuff. I guess this is a roll of ties. So the only thing that kind of gets me here is having the date set to 4. It kind of trips me out that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's kind of an interesting placement of the date replacing the 6. So if it's not the 6, it just feels trippy. It's a 5-star chronometer though. As a photo, I really like it. I think the textural
I do
difference
too.
between the watch and the
Oh,
fabrics really works. The being metal versus the soft fabric, it catches a lot of light. The hand placement is exactly the way you want it for something like this. I think it's a well put together, distraction free shot that, yeah, all of the textures work really nicely in it. So nicely done, Chung Hao. Let's
wallpaper.
highest praise, and it's not even a landscape. So for Steph, that's really high
I
praise.
know.
Do we have any questions here? Hello, Juan Sanchez. Go Peru. Apparently,
Fun.
the there's some sporting thing going on right now that Peru's in. Go Peru. Um, Paul Bivens, a little bizarre. Eric Weaver. Are you from Springfield too? Your name seems familiar to me. Oh, people are putting like their address in their name now. How about that? So,
Well, I don't think that's a good idea, guys. Right?
well, not the whole address, just the city. Um,
Okay.
so I don't see. Well, we have a very small room today. I wonder if that's because it's it's been a
early.
while since we did one of these, or because, yeah, we changed the time. I actually felt like it's
Yeah.
better to do it a bit earlier. So 8 p.m. on a Friday, I don't know, maybe people are still out in New York, but LA, that's kind of end of the work week, let's shirk at work type time. And Europe is, it's still nighttime in Europe, so we've got to find what's the best time for people. But we will be back next week around about this time to be confirmed, the exact timing. And it's going to be open topic, so you can enter any shot that you've taken. So get in there, send in your one shot. Um,
And puppies.
um, okay, well, no questions. I guess let's jump back in and look at some more pictures instead.
Cool.
You want to run with this one, Steph, from
Sure.
David?
Whoa. That looks like an old little clock. Is it me or is it out of focus?
I can't tell what's going
I
on. It
can't
looks like it's at really high
tell.
ISO, that it's really not sharp or something, but it's only ISO 200. It's f11, but it's 1/20th of a second. So I think it's either completely out of focus. I think it's focused in front of the watch because the hands in the middle of the mechanism is slightly closer to in focus than the actual enameling, which suggests the focus is in front. It could also have a little bit of movement blur in there by being at 1/20th of a second. Here it looks like maybe around the 6 you can see a little bit of ghosting, so maybe both. Honestly, well, will you give us your thoughts first, Steph?
Well, I mean, besides it kind of being like a little bit out of focus, I mean, it just kind of looked like there was some Photoshop that was done just to kind of make a completely black back. I mean, it looks more like an antique shot. That's the feel that I get. Personally, I think it would probably look better if it was on like a velvet cloth if you want to do like more of that antique look. Just try to get in focus would be like the most important part. I think because maybe it was a little bit too bright, you kind of missed like the finer details in the face of it.
Yeah. No, not to be too mean, David, but I think this is a pretty poor effort. I think you can do better. It's not in focus. It's a little bit blurry, and the Photoshop job is pretty rough and nasty. Look around the edge here where you haven't gotten rid of all of the background. It's just looking at it, the watch looks totally misshapen. How it's like circular around here, and then goes in, and then suddenly part of it just disappears where you've selected isn't even going around it. Yeah, I think it could be better. What about this one from Dennis Young?
Ooh,
Don't fall asleep.
I like that. Um, I love the little blur, the movement. I can only imagine this probably took you a few times to get. But I think the only thing that I am just not, I guess, not loving is I'm not sure if it's maybe like the lighting. It's not bright enough because it's like a lot dark. It's just a lot of black. I think if you were to crop it in, plus there's like a little bit of a white thing in the bottom right corner. I don't mind the little specks of light, I think it is, but I think cropping it in would definitely benefit.
Yeah, I'm guessing
It's
that
too dark for
ball
me.
of light on the right is kind of the crown up the top of the watch catching a bit of light, or it could just be a bit of flare. I agree that probably bringing in the crop, we could probably even keep the dimensions, but bringing it up works a bit better. And then looking at your exposure, I don't know if just bringing the whole exposure, yeah. So again, this has had it really brought down a lot to try and get rid of the background. If you just brought your highlights up like that, that's already going to make a fair difference. I like the concept and I'm going to give it a pick, but like a lot of the other ones,
Mm.
I feel like a lot of the shots that have been entered today are, oh, that's a nice object. Let me take a photo of it. Oh, wait a second. The background's nasty. The lighting wasn't good. Let me just turn all of the shadows to blacks and just submit it as it is, or haphazardly try and cut it out and then get rid of the distractions. Whether you're into watches or not, if you're trying to craft a nice photo of something, think about the scene and the lighting and getting it right in camera and do it justice. Choose the right settings and the right setup from the outset, and you're going to end up with a much stronger image. Some of the shots that have been entered today, I think, are pretty careless. But this one, I do like the idea of having it, swing through like that. Um, this one from Greg Scafidi. Well, that's kind of interesting. I wonder where in the world this is. I think it's a nicely put together little frame. It actually reminds me, I was just in Geneva and they have a flower clock right in the center of town as well. And off to the right of it, you can get the famous water fountain. But this one with the sun coming through there, I think it works really, really nicely. I'm going to give it a pick. I do think to be a shot of a clock being a slightly higher vantage on it, to see it a little bit more easily would kind of work better. And then you could probably bring the size of that structure in the background up a little bit as well. But I do think the shot works. Any thoughts on this one, Steph?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think there's just too much of, I guess, headspace, but I do like the little sun flare that's going on there too.
Nice. What do you think of this one, Steph? Hans Vandela.
I mean, this looks like when I first saw so looking at this image, my eyes just went straight to the middle and was like, is that for like a car odometer type of thing? And I was like, wait a minute, no, this is a watch. Um, but I think, yeah, this looks like a typical magazine product shot as well. Um, yeah, looks clean to me. I like it. I would just say because of the borders that you put on, I mean, this is a small detail, but the border on the bottom is a lot like wider than the top. But that could be a style choice. But I like it. Pick.
Yeah, I agree. It looks like a magazine layout, but it feels like a fair bit of time has gone into some elements of it, but not others. For example, the image on the left, way off center, and we just have the center, the crown in focus, but not quite. It's actually kind of a bit past that. You can see down the bottom, this is probably the sharpest part of the shot. The central one is actually not centered, left to right or top to bottom. I mean, it kind of is fine if it's not top to bottom because you've got the 12 there, but then the top part of the watch is actually starting to fall out of focus because it wasn't shot straight on and it's at too shallow a depth of field. And then the buckle, which is kind of giving us the brand name, is completely out of focus. And it's just this little bit of the leather strap in focus. So I like the concept a lot, but I feel like a little bit more care on each one of the three images and then their framing, like how you've laid them out. Like there's a lot of space above the, so you've got a lot of black at the bottom here, then red at the top, red at the top. If that's intentional, fine, but I'd probably at least move the buckle up so that they have kind of balanced amounts of red at the top. Good concept though. Now this one from Jaya, let's just take a look here at the Colgate clock. Now, unfortunately, this one is really low res. I did specify on the page to try and enter your shots around 4,000 pixels. This one is 1,000, and you can see that looks kind of nasty. But it's a interesting Colgate clock. Any thoughts on this, Steph?
Uh, it's like time to brush your teeth. I don't know. I think it's a grab shot, honestly. Yeah.
I assume you had to
But I mean,
get
I don't
up
really.
here to get that vantage point. Just one little thing, a little bit of a crop down. If you can keep your dimensions and everything, if you brought it down, see how that then gets rid of the junk up here on the top left of the frame. That already kind of tidies it up quite a bit. So before you're going to submit a shot to a competition, I would suggest before you even take a shot, scan your eye around the edges of the frame and just pay attention. Is there any distractions, anything sitting on the edge of frame, anything in the shot that doesn't need to be there, that's not adding to the overall composition? And if there is, get rid of it. That little adjustment, so it was that before, it does introduce a distraction. Here is Lath's shot. Okay. So you can see how careful he's been here with the depth of field. It's extremely shallow because we can see the band of focus along the felt on the bottom. But looking at the face of the watch, it's perfectly in focus from, the edge of the bezel to the center of the watch itself, and then everything else is falling away. Done in camera, no distractions. Got to give it a pick if nothing else, because it's technically well done and thought through, and no glaring errors like on so many of the shots so far. And a Mercedes-Benz SLR Tag Heuer watch. Fancy pants. Thoughts, Steph?
I mean, I agree with you. Honestly, all these watches, is just watches to me. I don't know anything about watches.
That's fine. What do you think of the
If
photo?
Matt says it's a fancy pants, then fancy pants. But yes, I agree with what you said. Depth of field is just really nice. It's just so clean. So fresh and so clean.
Okay, go for it, Steph. Marciano.
Um, I'm just kind of confused where this clock is, but it is very interesting. Um, I feel like there's just a lot going on. It's kind of like hard to focus on it, and it's interesting that there's like the one hand that's bent off of it. Uh, hmm. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
This is
I agree. The
difficult.
question of where is it? Is this like a tiny thing in the middle of something big? Is this actually something big in the middle of something huge? Is it junk? It's really hard to get a sense. It looks kind of like it could be the dial of one of those old alarm clocks with the ding-a-ding-a-ding bells on top of it or something. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it needs more context. It's F11
Yeah,
ISO 200. I don't know. Well, there's not much of it in sharp focus. I do
it
think
is interesting.
I think the most interesting thing though is what you pointed out, that hand that's bent, and that's out of focus. We've just kind of got the 1 to 6 in focus, and the rest of the shot are out. I mean, it could be an interesting one to have a really shallow depth of field. This was at f11, to go wide open and then just have the line of focus be along that bent hand. Could be an interesting shot, but yeah, not quite. Do we have any questions coming through? Seems like no. Well, we've got a few more viewers in now, so folks, let's just switch back. Thank you for joining us. So this week we're reviewing your time watch clock images. Next week it's going to be open topics, so you can enter any shot. Head on over to mattgranger.com/live to enter your shots there. I also do have a sale of my Victorian boudoir course at the moment. It's 60% off for the weekend. Oop, I'm on the wrong page. Percent. Note that that's not suitable for work though. So please get involved. Join us for next week's live show. Enter any open topic shot. Generally, I like to include all the images we have submitted, but if we get like 100 submitted, then I need to cull it down to, the best ones so that it doesn't end up being a 2-hour long show. Yes. So let's have a little look here and jump back in and take a look at our last few images. Well, not last few, we've got kind of 6 or so. Well, this is kind of the same concept as lathe shot, Marv Rivas shot here.
Yeah.
Now, I think they work in different ways, but I think I like this one just as much. I'm going to give it a pick as well. I think the texture on the ground actually maybe works better. Having all those circles and then the watch itself has all of the concentric circles is quite cool. It's got less going
It's
on because
trippy.
it's got far less text, but still having it all nicely in focus like this, it's a nice technique. So yeah, and it is kind of a little bit. This is almost more hypnotizing than the pocket watch being swung, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, back to diamonds. What do you think of this shot from Oliver, Steph?
Ooh, I like this perspective. It's different. Um, ooh. It looks like it's mostly like the hand that's in focus. It's got a very, very shallow depth of field. It's just like this little strip across that's probably in focus. But I do like the brightness of like the diamonds and then the edge in the front of the watch. Um, I like it. I like it a lot actually. Pick.
Okay, I'm just popping in a little crop here that
Interesting.
I think maybe works a little bit better. So it's not just the hands. He's gotten the brand and the model in good focus there. So, it could be one of a bunch of shots used as product photos for a watch like this. Of course, they're going to have the diamond bezel in good focus, and then the date window, and maybe the strap and the back and the crown and all the different pieces of it in individual shots. But as a shot across the dial, this is kind of an interesting one. Oh, it looks like we maybe do have some questions coming in finally. Hooray! Thank you for that. We'll go through these and then we'll come back to it. Richard Wintle. So this is almost a little bit steampunk.
Ooh,
What do you think, Steph?
I like it. I honestly thought we were going to get more, I guess, macro photos of like the gears and stuff going. So it's nice to like see one finally. Um, I'm not sure what is in a watch. I kind of thought that there would be more going on. So, but this is interesting. I do like the on the gears that you can see. Um,
By gradients, what do you mean?
yeah. Like I guess when they're the lines that are on the gears.
I like this, the scratches kind of.
Yeah, the scratches. Like I think that that's really cool. Um, I just feel like maybe there's a more interesting shot on a watch, but then again, I don't know watches, but
So
I
everyone's
like
going
it.
to be different. I'm guessing Richard chose this one because he wanted to show the power reserve, the little index here with the brass hand going kind of from S to F, like Steph Fam, spelt the other way.
Oh, but F.
But then, yeah, so this one, it looks like most of the movement is behind this base plate, so you can't actually see all of it. You can see the power reserve spring and everything here. I just maybe a bit more depth of field. I do like having the main cog there in sharp focus and then the power reserve. I think you could
Ooh,
have
I
the
would
whole
like to see
shot
it
be in
black and white.
focus. Yeah, maybe if it had more contrast. So that's the black and white. I think I prefer it as the color version that he had personally. Yeah, to have the two different kinds of metal come through there. We've only got 2 more shots here and then we'll answer any questions you guys have. So here's another my nice stuff, but here it's my arm, my pants, my leg, and my espresso. Nice.
Oh,
What is this? Looks like a Nomos. No, a Tissot. I mean, as a lifestyle type shot, I think it works quite well.
Like the book. It's
I
all
like the
about me.
lumberjack. Yeah. Um, yeah, It's All About Me is a really nice touch, especially if this is a self portrait of Scott. Um, yeah,
I
not,
think I
not,
would have wanted cropped in closer. I don't think the guy on the opposite page is really doing much. I find it more distracting.
yeah, maybe, but I think you could crop it in, keep the guy, because you want his sleeve. If you have it just hairy forearm, I think it's a bit, no disrespect to your forearm, Scott. Mine's hairy too. I'm just saying that if you had just hair,
I have hairy forearms
if you
too.
had just that, I don't think it works quite as well. Although it's not bad, but I think the previous crop probably works better. But give that a pick. And lucky last, this
Hmm.
one from Carsten Larson. Now, Carsten actually entered this one as soon as we announced the theme 6 weeks ago, and then just in the last week entered another shot, having forgotten he'd entered this one, but I've included the first shot that you entered, mate. So just thinking about it from a perspective of the feedback that I've given already, this to me looks like a shot where you actually did think about the setup, the lighting, the background, how to shoot it at the time, and tried to get it right in camera rather than just grabbing kind of a grab shot and trying to fix it later. This is also kind of like Lath and Marv's shots of just having the face in focus. It must have been extremely shallow because the strap wouldn't have been too far from the face, but it is starting to fall away. So for that, again, got to give it a pick. I think it's quite well done, and being slightly off balance here in terms of framing, I think works. If it were totally central, I think this would probably be a little bit boring. Any thoughts on this one, Steph?
Um, doesn't even look real at first, the way it was shot, honestly. I was like, was this made digitally? But no, I like it. I like the wash. The colors are really nice. I feel like these colors are very you, Matt. The orange and like the blue.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so if you want to send that over, Carsten, I will send you my address in the private chat. Excellent. Let's take a look at what questions we've had come in, and then we'll choose out a winner. And for the winner, I'll either give you a choice of my Victorian Decadence shoot, which is currently on sale, runs you through a complete shoot in this amazing Victorian studio, or I'll give you access to one of the courses at learn.mattgranger.com in case you're not interested in art nude portraiture. So the questions were, Matt, do you know if you can use a manual lens and still use the focus stack shooting mode? I don't think so. I've never actually tried it, but the if it's an internal focus stacking mode that you're talking about, the point is that you choose the closest and furthest point and how many stops, and the camera does it for you. If you're using a manual lens, you do that yourself. Get everything set up, lock down the focus, lock down the exposure, then you do a whole series of focus adjustments, shoot them, and then you stack it in Photoshop yourself. So it's internal versus after the fact. Now I've just muted my computer because of that dinging. Hopefully I can still hear you though, Steph. Am I?
Test,
No,
test.
I'm not. Okay, so
Can
not
you hear
much
me?
choice. You'll just have to put up with the dinging then, I'm sorry. Now let me just check, because I know Juan has been sending me through the questions, and I think we've had some others. Um, how was your trip? It was so good, but I feel like thanks for asking, Marv. I feel like there's too much to unpack. I haven't actually even really taken stock of it. I feel like I always say, it was so busy, but this trip was so jam packed with stuff. I'm like, literally, Steph, I was just yesterday importing the thousands of images from Iceland, and I was like, oh, I totally forgot that we pulled over and shot you naked amongst the wildflowers on the side of that road when we saw them in front of the mountain. And
Yeah.
oh, I forgot that we used that staff made of an old discarded flower, something or other, in the middle of this field. There's just so much stuff. So, as a little recap for maybe me and Steph as well as you guys,
Yes.
essentially I flew to New York, was there for a night, had a model flake on me and didn't get to shoot that one. Picked up my videographer Jonathan, drove to Philly, and then Steph, I, and Jonathan had 3 full days of shooting and then a morning together. We filmed kind of the bulk of one new course that I'm going to share a bit down the track, and then some intros for stuff that we were going to do in Iceland. I came back to New York. I did, I think, 4 different model shoots for different courses whilst I was in New York. And then Steph drove up to New York. We flew together to Iceland. My videographer joined us a day later. And then we had, I think it was 10 days, the 3 of us together traveling all around Iceland, doing all kinds of shooting for 3 or 4 different courses. It was a little bit hectic, like, okay, so what are we doing at this stop? Okay, we're doing
Yeah.
something for all of the courses, or we're doing just this part, or just that part. What gear do we need? It was a lot. And pretty much the whole trip up to when Steph and Ernest left was get up, have a shower, go to the bathroom, have breakfast, make sure all the gear is charged overnight, head out, shoot all day. Most days we didn't have lunch, so we'd have hotel breakfast, come home, have dinner, back up, put everything on to charge, fall asleep, do it again the next day. And that was just the routine for the whole 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah, that was pretty much it. We didn't like it. We would check footage now and then to make sure we didn't have any problems creeping in that we couldn't solve later. But that was kind of it. Then, when Steph
Yep.
and Ernest left, I went further west in Iceland to shoot more birds and horses and seals and stuff like that. And then I went to Switzerland for 4 days of mostly just R&R and a few meetings, but mostly just relaxation. And then now I'm back in Hong Kong, doing my 1 week quarantine before I can get home. So yeah, it was great and it was busy. Colin Cameron asks, Steph, did you try the fermented shark in Iceland? It's actually putrefied shark.
No, I did not. Okay,
And do you
so
remember why?
that we were just so busy. Like we were
Not true. We
constantly
pulled over
shooting.
to try and go, and then we somehow missed the farm. Remember, Ernest really wanted to go, so
Oh
I pulled off to do it,
yeah.
and we were screaming down this dirt road, and then got back to the main road and realized, oops, we must have missed it. Okay, too bad.
Yeah. Too bad. Just keep going. We had so much to do. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's kind of a blur right now. Actually, it was a blur, like I think after the fact, because I got home and everyone's like, "Oh, how was it?" I was like, "It was great." What happened? We shot a lot. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Saw some puffins, saw some whales,
Lots of whales.
goats, horses, the animals, really. But I mean, it's beautiful there. I would love to go back again.
Yeah, for a country that's so deservedly famous for its landscapes, the amount of animal photography opportunities are quite stunning. And I did see so many puffins after you guys left, Steph. Sorry. I'll share some more
Oh,
to. I'm going to share some to Instagram today, actually. There's so much to go through from that trip. I'm struggling now. I'm like overwhelmed with choice. I'm like, okay, so what should I share? And then, okay, if it's going to be a puffin, I have 400 potential different puffin shots. How do I choose which one to share? I don't want to share too many.
yeah. I'm happy I'm not editing or touching any of those because
There's a lot.
I mean every day we ended up with like how many like gigabytes of freaking footage?
I think our
It was
lightest day was like 200, and our heaviest day was in Iceland. I think it was like 860 or something like that in a single day. But in Philly in New York, it was often over a terabyte because we would have dual 8K
oh
footage running
yeah.
plus one or two 4K angles plus the stills. And for example, the first day in Philly, we pretty much like what would it was probably like a 10-hour day, but we probably were solid filming for 7 or 8 hours of that 10-hour day. It was
Oh
a
yeah.
lot. Looking back at it, I don't know. I was in total zombie mode. I was so jet lagged. I don't know how we got through it. My worry is that when we get to edit, I'm just talking gibberish and none of it actually made sense because I don't remember what I said.
No, I remember you made sense. If you didn't make sense, I would have been like, "What?
Eh?
Huh? Say that again?" I'm so confused.
Richard just saying he loves the puffin photos where they have the huge beak full of fish. Yes, they're beautiful. I'm not meaning to be pedantic. What the fish that they carry, they're actually sand eels. And that's one of the big reasons how they determine where they're going to nest is. So it needs big cliffs like the island we saw, Steph, near the whales, or like where I went after I saw you. Basically, rocky sea cliffs that they're able to dig out a little nest right into the side of the cliff where they, I don't know if I told you this, Steph, but I think I did, but I don't know if you thought I was joking or not. They mate for life and they make two rooms in their nest. One
Oh
is a toilet
yeah.
and one is for living. So they
That's
need that,
crazy.
but then they need there to be sand eels as well. And apparently, that's something as minor as that. If there's, climate change and then the sand eels in an area die out, then the puffins just can no longer come there because that's their diet. So it can be as simple as this area no longer has sand eels. So now puffins that have been coming there for 2 or 3 or 5 or 1,000 years no long just like within 2 years stop coming because there's no food anymore, so they can't nest, they can't have babies if there's no food, and they have to all go to somewhere else and compete for the supplies. So yeah. Junior Withrow, I'm still waiting on my Z9 pre-order from November. I hope you get it soon. I'm glad you have your order in. I find it funny, I get people writing to me worried about the wait times on equipment but haven't put their order in. It's kind of like feeling annoyed that you didn't win the lottery when you hadn't bought a ticket. It's you have to have your order in to have a chance of getting one. And you just never know if you're not at, depending on where you have your order in. If I know people who've gotten one in a couple of months because they put it in with a smaller retailer and they may only get a handful of them each month, but if they only have 10 pre-orders instead of the 1,000 that some of the big shops have, there's a chance that they're going to work through their list a lot more quickly. So I hope you get it soon, JR. Now, shall we choose out some winners? I think we better. Library. Flagged. Oh, I forgot to clear the flags before this. So all the ones that have come up now are all ones that we chose. I think they are. Yeah, I think they are. So interesting that although the late, sorry, Carsten's one at the end is upright, we do have three that are basically the same concept. Now, out of these, I think, I think, I think, I think there's two that stand out for me. Do you have a favorite, Steph?
This is hard. Hmm, so difficult. I think I have one.
Hit me. Which one?
Yeah. Um, I want to say Dennis Young,
Which one is that?
the swinging,
Okay.
the swinging one.
Okay, nice. In future, Dennis, so congratulations, you're a winner. I just noticed your shot is also extremely small. In future, please try to send us through the resolution that we request. So, congratulations. Let's start by removing all the stars and then 5 stars as a winner. So that wasn't one of my two. So now I need to choose out of my two which one I'm going to give the prize
Ooh.
to. So then we'll have two winners. Okay, I'm kind of tossing up between two very different ones. What do you guys in the room think? Which is your favorite? Now, actually, I say that they're very similar, but actually they are going for a similar kind of aesthetic. And I think overall, I'm going to give it to this one from Chung Hao, the shot amongst all of the rolled up tires. I think it works really nicely, and I really like the texture difference in this. Shows you don't need to necessarily have a studio with all of these fancy backgrounds and stuff. This I think just works really nicely. So congratulations to both of you. I'll be in touch so you can choose your prize. Congrats. I think that may be it. Nice selection of entries. We got it in just under an hour. Thank you so much, Juan, for joining us and sending me through the questions this week. Good luck to Peru in the kicky bally competition that they have coming up. If there's any other questions, send them in now. Otherwise, I hope you have a great weekend. And I've lost my ability to speak. I hope you have a great weekend, Stephanie, and everyone else.
Yeah,
Make
you
sure you
too.
get your open theme shots in. Check out the Victorian sale that's on at the moment, 60% off. And we'll see you next week. I've got 2 videos scheduled to go live next week, plus the live, so that'll be a nice full week. If you haven't already, turn on notifications. I've noticed the views have dropped off quite a bit in the last little bit. I don't know if YouTube's not suggesting my videos anymore, but we're still putting in the effort to make them. I hope you guys actually see that they're still coming out. Cheers, everyone. Thanks again, Juan, Steph. Good to see
Bye,
you both. Talk to you
guys.
later.
Thumbs up the video.
Bye.
Bye.
And